This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Let's face it, life after service ain't always easy. Far too many veterans continue to struggle in silence. But you don't have to fight this battle alone, because we are here to help. This ain't no group therapy. It's the after party to the battle. Full speed ahead, after battle. Real talk, real stories, no BS.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another weekly episode of Full Speed Ahead After Battle. As always, I am your host, Josh McCabe, here on Military Broadcast Radio, where we give the voice to the veterans. What's going on this last week? A lot of stuff going on. Keeping you up to date on a few things, as many of you are aware. Announced last week, we got the Battle Buddy Throwdown coming up in April 18th. That's next year. That is a cornhole tournament to raise awareness for veteran suicide. All donations will be going to the local Fort Worth chapter of the Irreverent Warriors. So make sure y'all stay tuned for all of that coming up. Also coming up, a big thing coming up. If you have not joined yet, make sure you go to the Facebook group, VFW Texas Suicide Awareness, because we are partnering with the filmmakers of American Sons documentary. Only members of that group are going to be able to join and register to watch that film exclusively from December 18th through December 22nd at your leisure, and then December 22nd at 7 p.m. Central live here on Full Speed Ahead. We're going to be doing a Q&A with the filmmakers and the Marines of that documentary. If you have not seen that yet, it's coming out on PBS in January. So this is your chance to get ahead, see it ahead of time. It is about a group of Marines that came back from war. One did not make it back from war. Some were dealing with suicide, drug addiction, issues with the VA, which I know where a lot of us are aware of. Great film. I was able to attend the premiere screening here in Fort Worth with the Fort Worth Film Festival. They're working on the awards and everything. Met the producer, director, some of the guys, the Marines in there. Great group of people. Again, if you want to see this before it comes out and get your questions in, that is the VFW Texas Suicide Awareness page. Register on the link in there. You can put your questions in there. You can tune in live, ask your questions live, or don't. I mean, it's up to you. But I highly, highly suggest that you do this. It's going to be a great thing. What else is going on? Unfortunately, last Thursday, the Cowboys played the Lions, and that sucked. Let's just say it. I mean, the only good thing about that game was Aubrey. I mean, the dude is on fire. He is killing it, racking up points on fantasy points. Unfortunately, I don't have him, but he's outscoring wide receivers. He's outscoring quarterbacks, everybody else. And they just put out that as a kicker, he is the same as a wide receiver, number 7 in fantasy. So, dude is on fire. Look out for that. Hopefully, we can start winning some games, but ain't looking so hot for us this year. Again, it's always our year, right? But we'll see how it goes. So, before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all those good things. You can find me on YouTube at Full Speed Ahead After Battle. You can find us on MBR Talk on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find MBR at the website, YouTube. We're all over the place. We're all over Roku, X. Find us everywhere. I'm not asking you to like, subscribe, share, do all that to make me rich and famous, because that is not the point of this show. Okay, I would do this for free, and I am going to do this for free. I don't pay for anything. I'm not asking people to pay for anything, because I think when it comes to helping veterans, we should be able to do it for free. We shouldn't be charging people to help veterans. And this show is about helping veterans with that ultimate transition from service to the civilian life. Because a lot of people, it's arguably one of the highest things when it comes to veteran suicide is that transition period. A lot of times we fail because we don't have the help, and I don't think that we should be charging people to get that kind of help. Unfortunately, the VA is not the best in that kind of help, and sometimes we have to rely on shows like this or other groups, VFWs, American Legions, Reverend Warriors, things like that, to be able to get the help that you need. So if you're looking for some help, don't hesitate to reach out. It's okay to ask for help, all that good stuff. Please, please don't. That brings me to the statistics for this week. I put it out every week, but I'm going to put it out again and again because it is important. 22 veterans commit suicide every day. And now that number has fluctuated over the years, but on average, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. That means in the time of this 1 hour show, one veteran is likely to commit suicide. And when you start adding in first responders, civilians, and all the other groups, that number jumps up to around 30 suicides a day. And that is 30 way too many. So that's why I'm on this show. That's why MBR is here, to help veterans give a voice, give an outlet, because when it comes to podcasts, writing, all kinds of different things like that, that's an outlet for a lot of these veterans. And that helps them get that pain and those discussions off their chest. And it just gives them an outlet. And let's talk about that, right? This last week, the Audie Murphy VA is in the news again because they had a veteran, a Marine, commit suicide at the front door of the VA. That's 2 suicides at that VA in less than 8 months. And now if you look at all the stories that are coming out, people have reached out to the directors down there, things like that. They're not working. The VA in the Audie Murphy VA is not working. A lot of VAs are not working. I'm not a proponent of the VA because they've kind of screwed me over in the past. And I will rather pay out of pocket to go to a private doctor and deal with that than go through the VA. So VFW, places like VFW, American Legion, they're speaking out now. They're always speaking out, but right now they're big headlines in the news. They're calling for some sort of revamp, some sort of something with the VA, especially the Audie Murphy. Why are they failing our veterans? Why are all the VAs failing our veterans? And so kudos to them. Kudos to everybody that's stepping up and speaking out. That's what we need to do. We can talk about it all we want. Unfortunately, it's not going to stop. It's going to take an entire nation to be able to put a stop to this. And there's a lot of people out there trying to do that. And I have a couple of those people as my guest today. They come from they have their own podcast, Smoking and Joking. They are a husband and wife duo, Beth King, Jimmy King, otherwise known as the Crayon Eater's wife and the Crayon himself. And so we're going to bring them on today, and we're going to talk about their transition, Jimmy's transition, his perspective. We're going to talk about the spouse's perspective. We don't get that perspective a lot. And so we're going to see, what he has to say versus what she has to say. I'm going to pit one against each other, see what happens here. And so with that, I'm going to bring on the Kings, and we're going to have our interview of the week.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
All right, Beth, Jimmy, welcome to Full Speed Ahead.
Hi, thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad y'all could join us.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you for, like Beth said, thank you for having us. It's interesting getting to come on shows, and
I know it's weird being on this end of it, even though that's
You're
kind of
getting asked the questions versus asking the questions, right?
I know, right? And even though that's how our whole start in the podcast, world started, was we went on as guests and ended up becoming hosts of that show.
Hey, it's exactly how I started. I was a guest on NBR on one talk show, and then started co-hosting, and then here I am doing my own show. So, you
That's
gotta get that word out there, and y'all are doing great at getting information out there. And I love y'all's perspective of it. And you use gallows humor in your show, a lot of military humor, a lot of fun. Because when we talk about veterans, transition, suicide, mental health, it can get kind of dark, but it's nice to bring in that humor and give it an upbeat every once in a while, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also it does help when you're talking to a civilian or somebody who maybe hasn't really seen the side of the veteran side and their perspective. When we're talking about deep subjects, sometimes people want to shy away from those. So by using humor, it kind of allows us to break the ice, talk, and it gives everybody a chance to kind of get real with each other.
Absolutely. So before we get started, why don't you kind of take turns and introduce yourself and tell us who the Kings are?
I'm Jimmy King, your resident gimp, I guess you could say. So I was in the Corps for 9.5 years. Joined back in '97, pre-war and all that. Spent 4 years with 2-1, 2 years at Edson Range as a range coach, teaching recruits how to shoot, and checked into 2-4 in January of '04, and we flew out, headed towards Iraq in February of '04. So short transition there. I spent 3 months in Ramadi, Iraq, back in 2004 before being hit on May 29th. Roadside car bomb went off in the vehicle, or next to the vehicle that I was in as we rounded the corner. Drug induced into a coma for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. Woke up as an amputee, and then was transferred from Bethesda to Walter Reed, where I started my recovery as a amputee. And it was there that I met my beautiful wife. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, obviously. No,
That's where he started stalking me.
That's where I started stalking her. She was a USO volunteer, and she kept saying, well, I'm not allowed to date the soldiers. And I kept saying, well, that's good, because I'm not a soldier. I'm a Marine. But I will, only half jokingly, mostly seriously, I guess, as far as it goes, tell everybody that getting blown up was, for the obvious physical reasons, the worst thing that ever happened to me, but it was also the best, because if I wouldn't have been blown up, I wouldn't have been at Walter Reed. I wouldn't have been at Walter Reed, and I wouldn't have met my wife. Wouldn't have met my wife, wouldn't have 3 beautiful kids. So, like to think that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes you just have to wait and see what it is. It can be difficult in the rough times to remember that, but
yeah,
it's what I like to tell myself anyway.
And for me, I personally, I grew up in a very patriotic family. Like we were talking about, almost everybody in my family served. I have a brother who is actually one of the 22 a day. But also, at the point that I went to Walter Reed, my mom had just passed away, and I was just on a self-destructive phase, and decided I needed to do something to think about someone else other than myself My mom was a USO volunteer, so that's when I decided to start volunteering with the USO in 2003, and was at Walter Reed where, like I said, my husband started stalking me. um, and then we ended up dating after I went to another charity organization. I didn't break the rules.
All right. So let's get into it then. So y'all weren't together before he transitioned out, and obviously, Jimmy,
Well, we
you
were
kind of got
together.
out.
We were
Okay.
together during his transition out.
Okay.
We weren't together during his service and his injury. Like we literally
Okay.
met within a couple months of him being
Okay.
injured. I used to take the guys. We had a thing called Friday night dinners. It was a way to kind of reintroduce the guys back into, going out and doing things and going out in public and stuff like that. And that's where I met Jimmy. So I did know him and was very much a part of his getting out, because he
Okay.
was in for 2 years at Walter Reed before he actually transitioned out.
Okay. So, Jimmy, obviously, it wasn't your decision to, transition out of the service, right? Because I imagine you probably would have stayed in if you could have. But
Well,
yeah.
just minor caveat to that was I had the opportunity to stay in if I would have like been overly vocal and really fought for it. The stipulation that they told you if you asked was you had to be able to physically complete the job you were given as far as that goes. If you couldn't, they would send you back to school, but it was primarily assumed, especially for those that were amputees as far as it goes, it was primarily assumed that you were going to get out. I was infantry and just not ready for a desk job, so I didn't
Yeah.
fight what their assumption was and said thanks for your time.
All right. So let's talk about that transition out then. What did that look like for you going back into the civilian world, and where did you go from there? And Beth, if you want to talk from the spouse's side, or at the time, y'all were together, because I know the veteran story is one thing, but then the spouses or the better half is sometimes a completely different story because they see things differently than what the veteran does. So what did that ultimate transition look like for you? Did you go out and get a job? Did you go to school? What did you do?
Well, if I'm completely honest,
Yeah.
when I first got out, I overly enjoyed retirement for a while. But before actually getting out, as far as it goes, when I was going through the med board process, one thing that I would say that I've heard has been improved some, especially with all the wounded warrior battalions and stuff like that have been created. None of that was it. That it was all being formed, or had just been formed, and they were still working out a lot of the kinks and stuff. And one of the things that I found at that point that was a real issue was your, what do they call it, TAPS classes and stuff, as far as that goes. Everything was designed for someone who had just done their 4 years and was getting out, or however many years they had done, as far as it goes. But there was like, I'm sitting in a room full of people that are just transitioning out after their EAS, as far as it goes, and I'm being told, if you think that there is a medical issue that could be service related, you'll want to set up an appointment at the VA and let them decide if it's service related. As I'm sitting there with me and 2 other amputees and one guy who who was blind due to facial injuries and stuff, as far as that goes, And we all just started chuckling. And even the guy who was doing I think it was actually a civilian that was paid to come in and give the class. He's like, is there something funny? It's like you're talking to a bunch of combat, or well, you're talking to those of us that are laughing are combat veterans who were injured. There is nothing that's not wrong with us, or however, basically everything that could be considered wrong with us is service related. I mean, what do you mean if we think that there's something that could be service related? And that's how every class went.
Mm-hmm.
And when we like what are they called? Trying to get it, resumes.
Yeah.
Doing the resume classes, they would say, well, you can take the write up for your MOS and use it as a description for the job that you was doing. And when I would ask, okay, so I was infantry, how do I convert that into something that civilians are going to understand? And what would be an admin job, sitting behind a desk doing something? In the infantry, you don't sit behind a desk and do all this stuff as far as it goes. But there's like, well, there's websites out there that can help you, but they couldn't tell me the names of any of the websites.
Right.
So it's like, how am I supposed to translate all the stuff that they don't give you certificates for, but you're expected to do? Once you become an NCO, you might as well have, maybe not a degree, but definitely certifications in project management. And I had a list of different things in my head, and now I can't remember what it was. But I mean, all the stuff that you do, you don't actually get trained for. You learn as you go, and then apply it into leadership roles. All the leadership skills that they teach you to utilize as a squad leader or a platoon sergeant, but you don't get certificates for anything like that. So even if you are good at crafting words and creating creative ways to describe all the stuff that you did, describe taking accountability for 28 other guys and all their gear, making sure that they're making appointments, making sure this squad's doing one thing, that squad's doing another, and the third squad's doing a completely different thing, and managing all those tasks and keeping track of millions of dollars worth of gear and ammo and weapon systems and everything else as far as it goes. A lot of the civilian employers look at it and go, but where's your certificate? Where's your degree?
Right.
And that can be extremely frustrating because it's like,
it
goes back to the running joke of my degree is a degree from Hard Knocks.
I think for Jimmy, a lot of where he ran into issues was the things he had planned on doing before injury, after service, which was a police officer, Homeland Security, one of the three, initials.
All your federal acronyms.
Federal acronyms. Sorry. More physical jobs, where now, because of his injury, because he's an amputee, he's limited on all those physical jobs. And how does he make his work as a grunt work on a resume that's going to be an admin job? I think that was an issue that I saw. I also saw that we didn't even know about Social Security. There were basic things he should have known about and been told about that he would have,
it was
he
just
could have
over,
applied for. Yeah, sorry.
It
he
was
could have
just
applied
over
for
3 years.
Yeah.
After retirement that someone said, well, you're getting Social Security disability, right? No. Yeah. It's like, why not? It's like, am I supposed to? No one told me that I was able,
I mean, the back pay
if you
check
said
when I
social,
finally filed it was amazing, but
yeah.
Yeah.
When someone said, before when someone said Social Security, I was like, dude, I'm 27, 28, whatever it was at the time of retirement. I'm not 65 yet. How am I supposed to get Social Security? And they're like, no, there's a completely different section of Social Security completely for those that have disabilities.
And, I think for Jimmy, when it comes to like really getting back into society, like if you ask me what it looked like, it looked bleak. It looked, he very much, just huddled in our apartment and played video games, and he didn't really interact with the world. There were things he still did. And then, of course, we started having kids. So, that compounded. And then when we had our second child, it was time, okay, our paycheck's not covering it anymore. You've got to go to work. And that's when he finally, but at that point, he had been out for almost 5 years. So the first 5 years was tough. I think he lost himself, a sense of who he was, because I don't know what the best word to say. He struggled with, not being able to do the normal things that a dad would do, because of his injuries, teaching your kid how to walk or, being able to do certain things. Our son, we thought he was going to hop for the first.
Our oldest, when he was infant, we had one of those hang in the doorway bouncy chairs, and he would literally bounce himself to sleep in it.
Yeah.
And
all day.
When it came time to start trying to teach him to walk, I wasn't in my prosthetic, so I'd lean over and he'd hold on to my fingers, and he'd take a step, and then he'd take a second, and then he would feel me kind of hop forward to, so I didn't just fall over. And him feeling that hop between seeing me hop all the time, bouncing in his bouncy chair all the time, and or if there was times I would pick him up and, I would hop a few times to go from couch to recliner or, whatever, as far as that goes. He was just used to that movement. So he would feel me hop and he would just decide that he was going to start bouncing. And
I stayed connected and involved with, different charity organizations. I've worked for a couple over the last 20 years. So we still did things like he did marathons to, show our kids that no matter what your limitations are, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. He did them on those hand crank bikes. So we really did stay active in the veteran community. But I think for us, it wasn't until probably, in the last 5 or 6 years that we've really kind of stepped out of, one, we have 3 children, and our youngest is 10 years old. So we've been mainly at home raising our kids, but we finally gotten to a place where we could go out and help the veteran community. Sparked on my brothers, because he did commit suicide about 12 years ago. It's really the epidemic of, veterans committing suicide, the stigma with mental health and addiction, that we really decided to do what we could to help our fellow veterans and build a community that they could come, and if I can make somebody spit their coffee out in the morning and get them out of that dark place, then I've done my job.
Right.
We really believe in healing through laughter.
Yeah.
And some of the things
Absolutely.
we've been
So,
through, we've had to laugh at.
absolutely. So, we mentioned the TAP class a couple of times, and I know when I got out in 2011, it was a couple of days, and it's go to the Home Depot website, go to the Walmart website, update your resume. It doesn't help. I mean, they don't translate, like you said, Jimmy, those skills of how do you go from kicking down doors to sitting in an office because that's all you can do, right? And so they need to update that. But then again, for those that have the spouses and the kids, the family doesn't get any kind of that training or any of that assistance. So
Yeah.
it's like they need the help as well, how to deal with the veteran that's going through that, right? And so that's when you start talking about veteran suicide awareness, and you got to talk about the prevention, the intervention, and then the postvention. The training and talking with the family is just as important as it is with the veterans. And unfortunately, as far as I know, the military does not provide those classes to the spouses
Yeah.
and the families. And that's definitely something that they need to be doing, right? I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
I think I liked what you said in the opening when you were talking about. Well, I didn't like what you said, but you were right when you said the VA is not really helping these guys and give them the resources, the things that they need, and we have to do it, and we have to help each other. Whether it's watching a podcast or going to a group, we've got to search this stuff out. And I know one of the things that why we started doing what we were doing or what we are doing is a veteran, a friend of ours, was in desperate need of a wheelchair. He had one of those crappy ones at the hospital that you get when you're wheeling somebody in at the ER. And he needed something better and something that would fit in his house and couldn't get it. And he was getting ready to have back surgery. I made a couple phone calls, and luckily I knew just a few people who knew somebody who got him a wheelchair in a few days. Like, I think the day after his surgery, he had a wheelchair delivered to his house. And then an organization, Wheels for Warriors, stood up and made him his wheelchair specifically for him. And that right there showed me the power of what it is when some veterans get together and work together, the things that we can do.
Right. Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break real quick. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the nonprofits that y'all are starting or you're doing. So we're going to be right back if I can find the right button. There we go. All right. Sorry, it's been a long day. We'll be right back after this song.
someone's point of view.
too, girls. All right, we're back on Full Speed Ahead After Battle on Military Broadcast Radio. My guests tonight are husband and wife duo, Jimmy and Beth King. That was Die Tired, Better Off Alive. If you go to the NBR website, we do have a shirt collaboration with Die Tired. Great band. We have a lot of their videos on our pages here, and so we did a collaboration with them. Make sure y'all go purchase those shirts. The proceeds are going back to the veterans, back to NBR, allowing us to do all of the work we do. Because while this is all volunteer, this doesn't run for free, and I'm sure y'all know how this goes. We're not here to get rich, right, guys? We're not here to make money off of this. We're here to help the veterans, but it's not free always. So, we left off. We were having a kind of a deep conversation. Let's get into something a little bit fun. And for the viewers that are tuning in, maybe there's some civilians out there and they don't know what a crayon eater is, or what this is about Marines and crayons. I mean, we know what it is, right?
Not but even all service members ask. I still get service members who ask.
Well, those aren't the real service. I'm just kidding. The real ones know what crayon, what the term is. But let's explain it. How did we come up with Crayon Eater's Wife and the organization that you're doing, your nonprofit?
So Crayon Eaters came around the 1990s. I'm sure everybody knows what a jarhead is. And like true to form, and for any Marine, you try to insult them, they're going to lean into it. And so, they kind of owned the name Jarhead, and then it went to Crayon Eaters.
It's kind of like, basically it's saying, that we lack the intelligence, even as children, as far as that goes. So whether it be eating glue or eating crayons, they decided to go with crayons for whatever reason instead of colored. And we decided that those were snacks, and it was meant to be an insult. And it was just like the term jarhead was meant to be an insult. And it was like, okay, you're going to call us a crayon eater. We will lean into it. We will take it. We will run with it, and we will own it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so obviously he's a crayon eater. I'm a wife. In 1775 is when our beloved Marine Corps was birthed.
Born in a bar.
Born in a bar. We all know Tons Tavern, right? And y'all just turned 250. So
yes,
happy belated birthday.
Thank
you. I'm sure y'all hear it all the time. Just remember who signs the paychecks.
Right.
Department of the Navy, men's department. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my dad and him do that joke all the time.
Yep.
But
it gets old.
To kind of back up, before Crayon Eater's Wife even became a thing, Jimmy was nominated, and we were awarded a home. Now, in transitioning, like from before, when we were talking about, our main concern was just making sure we had a roof over our kids' head. That's what we worked for every day. We were never working to get rich. We were working in, the veteran charity world. So that
right.
At least not at my level, it wasn't getting rich. And so when we were awarded the house, we knew that our kids were going to have a roof over their heads. We weren't going to have to worry about it. And neither one of us could ever pay back, a home to somebody. So what we've done is pay it forward. And that's how we kind of came up with the Crayon Eater's Wife. And it was a place because, as everybody knows, sometimes the veteran community can get toxic. And we always hated that. And I wanted to build a place that not only the veterans can come, first responders, but spouses, because there's sometimes you may say something that he's been trying to tell me for 20 years and trying to get me to understand, whether it's about PTSD or, going from military to civilian, and you may say it in a different way and it clicks. So in a lot of organizations, they keep people apart. They keep the spouses. They have their own little area in the military, and the veterans have their own area. And I wanted an area to bring all of them together where we can just laugh and joke, because Jimmy and I, we've both fought cancer. We've both had a lot of different things that we've gone through in our lives. And the one thing that's constantly kept us our head above water, so to speak, is laughter and kind of making fun of ourselves.
I will be the first one to tell you a corny amputee dad joke.
So. And like when I found out I had breast cancer, this man took me to a strip club to pick new boobs.
I mean, they told us that they were going to remove hers, and then that they were going to do the reconstruction, and she was going to get implants. And I figured, well, what better way to get the most knowledge about, fake boobs and implants and, what size to get and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Just take her and talk to the pros. So I took her to a strip club.
Yes.
And that was, it was funny because she told the first dancer that came around for tips and everything, because the place we was at, it was in DC, so that they didn't have any seats by the stage, and there was no champagne room or whatever you want to call it.
There was no champagne room. It was a classy strip club.
So they would do their dances, and then they would walk along and collect tips from people after they got done dancing. Well, I think that night Beth was actually the only girl in the audience as far as that goes, and or at least the first one, and the dancer was like, "Oh, so you came," and we kind of gave a brief description of why we was there, and that's all it took. She's like, "I'll be right back." She went down, got the rest of her tips, came down, sat down next to Beth, who was just, in deep with the conversation. She finally gets up and goes back, and from that point on, the rest of the night, the dancers would all do the same thing. They'd walk, they'd get their tips, they would look at us, smile, and hold up one finger and be like, "I'll be right back." Get the rest of their tips, come back, sit down, and they were all like, "Oh yeah, these are this size." And all every strip club I've ever been to is all hands off, but Beth was all able to test them out. I just sat back and watched. And
that's just one of the silly things we've done. We've been like that ever since we've been together. We kind of, when we started dating, he was in and out of the hospital. He went through 7 different revisions, so it almost felt like we lived in the hospital. And I'm still waiting for my degree, because I should have earned one after all that time in the hospital.
Yeah, we should at least be RN or something. I
Yeah, I'm not going to claim a doctorate. I'm not that good, but getting awarded to the house, we decided to, start Crayon Eaters Wife 1775, the Facebook group, and it's been a whirlwind since then. Really, I couldn't feel more blessed than to have gotten the opportunities like coming on your show, starting our own podcast. And, we've been put, our great friend, also our producer, he was like, "Okay, you guys have got to do this." So we decided to make Crayon Eaters Wife an actual organization, and we're working towards that right now. And we cover laughter and arts, because people learn to share their stories through, whether it's music, writing, poetry, or going out and going on stage and telling your story through jokes. Either way, it's a way of us expressing ourselves and really healing our trauma, and really working through our things. I know that it isn't the only thing that you need is laughter. You do need to work through your stuff, but it really can help not only you process your story and what you've been through and how to move forward, And I think changing your perspective on things is so important. If we look at everything from a doom and gloom point, then that's exactly what it's going to be, and that's what you're going to continue to create. You try to take it from a different standpoint and put a little twist of humor on it. Um, it makes it easier to work through, and it also makes it easier to build a life beyond this.
Right.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Go ahead.
Like some of the transition as far as what she was saying goes is, people who used to ask, I don't get it as much nowadays, but people used to ask now and again, what's it like being an amputee?
Mhm.
And whether the points when I was good in my prosthetic or even when I wasn't, I would point out physical things. Like it wasn't the getting around that was difficult. It was, I don't use a shower chair. So I would use the example of when you're looking to take a shower, pick a leg, pick your dominant leg. Because I'm right-handed. I am lucky enough that, I've still got my right leg. But stand on just the one leg, transfer it into the bathtub, shower, standing up, including washing your hair, drying off, everything as far as that goes, and transfer back out, all on one leg. And that's the type of stuff that I used to talk about. And then we had kids, and all the physical stuff went out the window. And it goes back to what she was talking about. I can't teach my kids to ride a bike. I can't.
Right.
Well, for a long time, I said I couldn't teach them sports and stuff. It took me a long time to figure out that, well, I can. I just got to sit on the ground and use my hands to position their feet where they need to be instead of demonstrating like I was used to. And nowadays, people ask, what's it like being an amputee? And after working through everything, I say, well, there's a lot of benefits. I get front row parking year round. She gets more leg room in the bed. A pack of socks will last me twice as long. So I mean, there's benefits to it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. You mentioned a couple of times being an amputee, and I know something that a lot of veterans struggle with when they come out of the service and we're talking about applying for their disability benefits and whatnot. They struggle with, well, I'm not that bad off compared to other people, right? Some people have lost limbs or blown up or burned or whatever. Here I am, I got a bad shoulder. It's not that bad, so I'm not applying for my benefits, right? So they think they're not as good as the amputees and they shouldn't be applying for those benefits. So what do you have to say for that from the amputee perspective, or the wife of an amputee perspective?
My first initial gut reaction is that's BS.
Yep.
You rate. They have ratings for a reason. You rate to apply. That's what the VA is there for. That's what these ratings are there for. And depending on, okay, someone's shoulder's messed up or their back hurts more than they think that it should or whatever, as far as that goes, from carrying all the weight and hikes and everything else as far as it goes. A lot of that stuff doesn't get better with age.
Right.
So why not? Find out exactly what you do rate and get it.
And when you have that mindset and people wait too long, sometimes if it's not documented or, you find even more of a hassle. There's people who, fight for years to get their rating. My thought process is you find that dotted line, you on those yellow footprints, you swore an oath to protect and serve our country. And in that, we swore to serve and protect you afterwards. And so you're not scamming the system. You're not,
taking away from
somebody else more deserving.
Yeah.
That's another one. Somebody else deserves it more. That was Jimmy. What Jimmy said constantly. We've actually been offered 2 homes, and Jimmy turned them down. And because we felt like there was somebody worse out there.
Yeah.
And I think you guys or veterans in general, denying yourself of benefits that you rightfully deserve and have earned is only to a detriment to you in the end.
Don't let either end of the spectrum hold you back from what you deserve. Don't let your pride hold you back, and don't let your humility or humbleness hold you back.
Right.
I've been guilty of both as far as that goes in one way, shape, or form over the years. And
yeah, because when Jimmy got out, he got out during the time where you didn't talk. The mental health services were not there. You didn't talk about your mental health. If you did, it can mess you up from getting clearances and stuff like that. So they actually deterred you from going to mental health. Well, he's not rated for PTSD. He's not rated for, his TBI because he was trying to protect this image. And now 20 years later, we're struggling with getting those ratings or trying to decide if we want to go back and have them restructure his rating.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's that one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that brings up 2 points. So one, a lot of people get in that warrior mindset when they're serving, and I've got to keep going with the mission. I can't go to medical because then they're going to boot me out. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you stub your toe, twist your finger, whatever. Make sure that it is documented, because 10 years down the road, when you try to do that, it's going to be 10 times harder to get it. And then, like y'all just said, just because somebody, you lost a veteran loses a leg, that's the most important thing to them. Another one is just, PTSD. That's the most important to them. Doesn't mean that one is worse than the other. Everybody has different experiences. So like you said, go file those claims, no matter what your issue is. You think somebody's got worse off, go file those claims. So look, we're coming up on the, yeah, you're not taking it from anybody else. The only people you're taking it from is the government, and the government owes you for all the crap that they put us through all those years, right? So go get the money that you deserve. So we're coming up at the end of the hour, almost 8 o'clock. So I'm going to give each of you a couple of minutes to kind of speak your mind, speak your heart, put that message out there, whatever you want to put out there to the world, to the veterans, to the people listening. This is your chance.
One, as far as everything that we talked about, when it boils down to it, like Beth said, Crown Eater's Wife 1775 is our way of giving back, paying it forward a little bit as far as it goes, giving veterans, even our first responders, spouses, caregivers, and civilians or family members, or just general civilians as far as it goes, as long as you're supportive of the military, to come in and see how we communicate with each other. A lot of guys, one of the things that they miss the most, besides the job itself, is the camaraderie and the smack talk and just the way we interact with each other when we're BSing around the barracks or sitting in the smoke pit or sitting on a fantail, as far as that goes, and joking around and razzing each other a bit. And then the dark sense of humor, the explicit or inappropriateness that we all get into as far as it goes. It's what we put on our page specifically so that they get that feeling that, make people spit the coffee out. For the civilians or family members that come in, we just ask that you realize this is us. This is what we find funny. We may not say it all the time or whatever, but we do find this stuff funny. And there's nothing wrong with that as far as that goes. It can be healing to laugh at dark situations.
Yeah, I'm just so incredibly grateful for the community that we have We have a great group of admins that, we're not only there just to make you laugh, but if somebody needs something, everyone knows that they can DM any of us. And I have somebody who's basically on shift 24 hours. So if you need to reach out to us, don't ever feel like, oh, I don't know her or I don't know him. Jimmy will answer the call at 3 a.m. for anybody. And I'm the same way. Well, text me first because I don't always hear my phone go off. But I will answer the call. If I see it come through, I always answer all my DMs. I answer my phone calls. That's the one thing I do love about our community is we are very supportive. We joke around, we mess with each other, but we are really supportive. And, we hope to continue it with Crayon Eaters, our organization. And,
Like Beth said, it doesn't matter if you know us in any way, shape, or form as far as that goes. When it boils down to it, especially for our veterans and first responders, you stood in the room, you raised your right hand, you swore an oath, same as me. That makes you family. You might be extended family, but that still makes you family. And, reach out, call. I might be 90% deaf in one ear, but I got one good ear left. I can listen. I'll offer advice if you ask for it, or I'll just let you vent. But,
anyone who calls me, if you just need to laugh, I can do that. But we really believe that I Got Your Six is not just a tattoo, a cool fat tattoo you get, or a t-shirt slogan. It's the way we live our life.
Yeah, 100%. Well, y'all said it best right there. So again, thank you for coming on Full Speed Ahead. I appreciate, the perspective of both of y'all. A great show, and congratulations with the nonprofit that you're doing. I know I follow the page and I see all the interaction going on. It's definitely fun. It's definitely that military gallows humor, and it's definitely a place for the veterans to come along. So, great job. That website is in the links, y'all. CEW1775.org. Make sure y'all go check out the website, also the Facebook group. But I appreciate it, and hopefully I see y'all around on social media.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, y'all have a great evening.
Night, Joe.
You too. Good night, everybody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for another episode of Full Speed Ahead After Battle. That was the Kings, or as we said, the Crayon and the Crayon Eater's wife. Make sure you check out their website. It's in the links. A lot of good stuff coming up here on Full Speed Ahead and MBR. It's the holiday season. MBR is doing their donations, backpack donations, Christmas wreaths at the cemeteries. And again, a lot of things coming up. Next week, our guest is Adam Myers. He is a law enforcement officer, no longer serving. His story is about taking a life in the line of duty and the repercussions and the actions that came after that. So make sure you tune in next week. You can catch us here live on Full Speed Ahead After Battle on YouTube or any of the other streaming platforms that we're on. And don't forget, go check out the VFW Suicide Awareness page. That way you can get registered to watch the American Sons documentary, and then tune in live on December 22nd here on Full Speed Ahead for a live Q&A with the filmmakers and cast of that documentary. So we'll see you next week, and y'all have a great week. And don't forget, it's okay to ask for help. Just reach out. We're all here for you. All right? Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.